powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
Good evening. This is
Bobby Bernard.
Very happy I am to be back in the United States and back on the network, even for so short a visit as this one. A lot of people asked us to do it again, so it's gratifying to get the chance now. Personally, I've never met anybody who didn't like
KBLA Talk 1580.
But it seems I do have a reputation for the uncanny. I'm an overpaid producer with pleasant reasons to rejoice, and I do. But surely my right to having more than enough is canceled if I don't use that more to help those who have less. We must each day earn what we own. A healthy man owes to the sick all that he can do for them. An educated man owes to the ignorant all that he can do for them. A free man owes to the world's slaves all that he can do for them. If we can't die in behalf of progress, we can live for it. If we waste that gift, we won't have anywhere to hide from the indignation of history.
This is the Friday edition of Areva Martin in Real Time with Bobby Bernard.
We did it, Joe.
The dawn is hours before. We knew it. Somehow we do it.
Cries for racial justice, some 400 years in the making, moves us. The dream of justice for all will be deferred no longer.
And it is the Friday edition of Areva Martin in Real Time. Let's get you caught up. Israel has given Hamas 1 week to agree to a ceasefire deal, or it will go ahead with its military operation in Rafah, according to Egyptian officials today. Egypt worked with Israel on a revised ceasefire proposal that it presented to Hamas last weekend, according to Egyptian officials. Hamas's political leadership was expected to consult with its military wing in Gaza and respond, but the group's military leader in Gaza, who was believed to be hiding in the tunnels and makes the final decisions, has not responded. Egyptian officials conveyed the message from Israel to Hamas yesterday. The New York Police Department began clearing encampments at New York University this morning and took more than 50 demonstrators into custody. Pro-Palestinian protests and resulting police actions continued to roil the campus and many others across the country. More than 130 people were arrested at the State University of New York at New Paltz, and 17 were taken into custody at the University of Notre Dame late last night. In Oregon, law enforcement officers cleared a library at Portland State University for a second time last night, with the day's arrests there reaching at least 30. In bombshell testimony today, Hope Hicks relayed cascading concerns inside Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign as a lewd tape and allegations that he had had affairs with a Playboy model and a porn star emerged in the waning days of the election. A close aide to Trump who spoke daily with him, Hicks said Trump's campaign feared the potential ramifications of the Access Hollywood tape on the pending election. She also testified that Trump did not want the newspaper delivered to his home on the day that a story about his alleged affair with Playboy playmate Karen McDougal was set to run. A Texas man has filed legal action to probe his ex-partner's out-of-state abortion. As soon as Colin Davis found out his ex-partner was planning to travel to Colorado to have an abortion in late February, he retained a high-powered anti-abortion attorney who, court records show, immediately issued a legal threat. Now, Davis has disclosed his former partner's abortion to a state district court in Texas, asking for the power to investigate what his lawyer characterizes as potentially illegal activity in a state where almost all abortions are banned. The auditing firm for Trump Media and the auditor's owner were charged today with massive fraud by the Securities and Exchange Commission for work that affected more than 1,500 SEC filings. The auditor, B.F. Borgers, CPA, and its owner, Benjamin Borgers, have agreed to be permanently suspended from practicing as accountants before the SEC, and also agreed to pay a combined $14 million in civil penalties. The bombshell SEC action raised questions about the accuracy of the financial information in thousands of reports that were issued by the companies Borgers audited, including Trump Media, whose majority shareholder is Donald Trump. As of this morning, the investor relations page on Trump Media's website still listed B.F. Borgers as the independent auditor of the company. And the Los Angeles Lakers have fired Coach Darvin Ham today after 2 seasons, and the team will now open a job search in hopes of finding the right person to maximize what figures to be the final chapter of LeBron James' storied career while returning to championship contention. Ham, who had 2 years remaining on his contract, went 90-74 during the regular season and 9-12 in the postseason, which does not include his 2 play-in tournament wins. Since being hired to replace Frank Vogel in 2022, he also guided the Lakers to the inaugural in-season tournament title in Las Vegas in December. A Georgia business owner who bragged that he fed, quote-unquote, fed a police officer to a mob of rioters storming the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, was sentenced yesterday to nearly 5 years in prison for his repeated attacks on law enforcement during the insurrection. Jack Wade Witten struck an officer with a metal crutch and dragged him headfirst and face down into the crowd on the Capitol's Lower West Terrace. Witten later posted in a text message that he, quote-unquote, fed him to the people. When we come forward, we're going to have a great discussion with good friend of the show, Danny Griffin, educator, entrepreneur, and motivational speaker. That's right, it is the group chat. We have another edition of the group chat for you. Dr. Fletcher will be joining us later on in the show, and we're going to talk about a lot, mainly those things we just mentioned, but also in the second hour, we're going to get into a conversation about why so many black athletes date white women. And that is sure to be a very spirited discussion. Maybe we'll get into the Darvin Ham firing, and we might also talk about there's a nude cruise set to sail from Miami next year. Are you going to be on it? And also, Tiffany Haddish told the LA Times that she sometimes not only investigates the trolls that are spamming her on social media, but she finds a way to reach out to them directly. She finds a way to get their phone number, and she calls them. A lot to talk about today in this edition of the group chat, and we will get to it when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, it's Tavis Smiley. First, thank you for your support of KBLA Talk 1580. We deeply appreciate you. So, I get asked all the time, Tavis, when are you going to bring back that State of the Black Union symposium you used to do? You know the one where you had all those black intellectuals on stage every year and everybody watched all day live on C-SPAN? Yeah, I know the one.
Let's bring them back.
Well, I am pleased to tell you that if you go to KBLA1580.com right now, you can sign up to be in the audience here in Los Angeles when we go back live on C-SPAN with a stage full of black thinkers and influencers for a historic conversation. America has never seen a stage full of black folk talking about the urgency of now. Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. It's going down Tuesday, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the California Science Center in Exposition Park. Admission is free, but you must register at KBLA1580.com. Once we reach capacity, you'll have to watch us on C-SPAN. But if you want to be in the room when we go live from Los Angeles, Tuesday, June 18th, head to KBLA1580.com right now to reserve your seat. Caring about the climate, caring about the community. With KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your blast.
I'm a keep up safe.
Girl, I have a secret. When I get stressed out, I get sweaty. That's why I use Secret Clinical Antiperspirant. It's like my own secret weapon. For 72 hours, I get Secret's strongest protection against sweat caused by stress, heat, and activity, because you know how crazy life can get. Plus, it's made with advanced odor fighters that don't just cover up smelliness. They help prevent it from happening in the first place. Believe me, if I weren't wearing Secret, I'd be a hot, smelly mess. Thankfully, Secret works.
Free.
Who doesn't love free? With Milo's Rewards, you get the member-only treatment that's actually worth it. Enjoy free member gifts you'll love. And once you reach Silver Key status, you can get free standard shipping. Because Lowe's knows nothing feels better than free. Learn more about our new loyalty program at Lowe's.com/MyLowe's Rewards today. Program subject to terms and conditions. See Lowe's.com/terms for details. Member gifts may be subject to additional terms and restrictions. See Lowe's.com/shipping terms for details. Subject to change.
You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, where climate is king. Climate is king.
My mom has taken up going to the park to practice yoga.
My dad's going to a club, but not a book club, a salsa club.
Finding new hobbies comes with age.
My mom has started getting lost and not knowing where she's going.
Becoming lost or disoriented doesn't. Confusion with time or place may be a sign of Alzheimer's. An early diagnosis can help improve the quality of life for your loved one. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
The way we spend our time defines who we are. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
That's right. It is the Friday edition of Areva Martin in real time. Avi Bernard here with you every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific time, that is. And appreciate you whether you're joining us here in Los Angeles on 1580 AM or you're listening to us on the free KBLA app, or if you're listening to and watching us on YouTube, you can watch us live on YouTube. And me and Danny both got on great today. So let's get to it. Danny, and as I said, Dr. Fletcher will be joining us a little bit later. Lots to talk about today. As tempted as I am to go right into the Darvin Ham firing, I will save that for later. And let's talk about this abortion situation, because in all the different states, we're seeing different lengths and levels of abortion bans. And so in Texas, there's a near total abortion ban. And so a Texas man has filed legal action to probe his ex-partner's out-of-state abortion. Tell me another situation where you can get medical information about your ex when they had any kind of procedure or medical work done anywhere, let alone in another state. So this man's ex had an abortion out of state, and he's like, you know what? I have a right to be able to know about what she did over there. And then brought that information back and told a district court in Texas, and who knows who could face charges in this. I mean, I don't think there's going to be a lot of strength in prosecuting someone who has had an out-of-state abortion just yet, but I know that that's the Republicans' goal, is to be able to prosecute women who come from states with abortion bans and get abortions done in states where abortion is legal. That is the goal of Republicans. And I don't think they're there yet, but that's what they want. And you know what that means, right? That is effectively a nationwide abortion ban for women in those states. And so the level of disrespect for women, the extent to which women's rights are under threat could not be more clear. And in Florida, they signed a 6-week ban. Governor Ron DeSantis signed a 6-week ban months and months ago. But it just took effect this week. And so in Florida, they made new rules regarding health of the mother, and it relates to a couple of different common issues that happen when women are pregnant. But basically, you have to have all these stipulations to get any medical care in Florida. Even when your life or the baby's life is at risk, you have to get, I think, 2 different doctors to sign off in writing. They have to mark everything in your chart. And so basically, who's going to be reviewing this? The doctors have to write it down for politicians. So politicians without medical training have to review the findings of doctors to agree whether your abortion was legal, whether you were in enough medical jeopardy, enough physical harm, enough potential physical harm. This is going to be reviewed by politicians, and this is what they want to do nationwide. So if you're one of those people who says that Joe Biden is the lesser of 2 evils, just remember that if you are a woman or if you are a father of daughters or a brother of sisters, then their rights are very much in peril if Donald Trump gets reelected. And they are much less in peril if Joe Biden gets reelected. And I say much less because there are still crazy-ass Republicans in different states who are going to try to keep those laws going in their states. But if Joe Biden does get elected and you get a Democratic Congress and a Democratic Senate, then Roe versus Wade will be the nationwide law again. But Danny, I've been talking long enough. This person, this man in Texas who is trying to get information about his wife's out-of-state abortion, let's get your perspective.
Good afternoon, Avi.
Just bring you right in here. Start the conversation off with a little something light.
Yeah, this is, I'm not going to say this is a slippery slope or try to beat around the bush or sugarcoat this at all. This is crazy. What kind of society? Man, I guess we spoiled out here in California. Because what's the act when you can't get in the medical files? What's the name of that?
HIPAA.
Yeah, the HIPAA. That's not Texas.
Well, that's like doctors are not supposed to share your medical information with anyone other than you.
Man,
anywhere, not just Texas, but I guess Texas. I mean, they're willing to go around all kinds of laws and norms. They're
looking for the gray areas
for their agenda. Not even gray areas. They're just trying to go around them.
Yeah, this is crazy. So if a woman wants to have an abortion, even though she's not married to this guy,
right?
And she leaves the state. Okay, so even though you can't go after her per se, they're going after the people that aided and abetted her, and they're looking for prosecution for her. I think
he is trying to go after her.
He is, but the Texas laws. It allows citizens to sue anyone who aids or abet an illegal abortion. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be at more fault legally than her. That's going to be that's going to be very tough. But the people that aided and abetted her to get the abortion, they may be a little more susceptible to getting some type of legal action as it looks right now from what I'm seeing.
And that's a good point, and not to cut you off, but that's one of the problems with anti-abortion laws, even when they do have quote-unquote exceptions for the mother's well-being or the baby's well-being, is that doctors are going to be afraid to perform such things because they don't know if they're going to face prosecution. Even if there is a rule cut out, they may face prosecution because some craven Republican is going to try to prosecute them from another state. But go ahead.
No, but so that's the thing. This is scare tactics. Intimidation. If you go after the people, so basically, let's just say I'm in. I better choose the right state. I'm trying to avoid the red state. So let's just say, what's a blue state, man?
Well, shoot, California, Oregon, Washington.
Okay, let's just say we here.
New York,
so let's just say we're here, but auntie, or you got a friend in Texas, right? And they call you. We need a little help. You connect them with someone. I say, I know a clinic over here in West Los Angeles or South LA or somewhere, wherever it is. And next thing you know, we get a letter from regarding civil or legal, whatever, and it says aiding and abetting, and we need to subpoena and depositions and stuff. And you're like, wait a minute. So they're coming after us? I'm like, So now people are going to be intimidated to help people from certain states. So now when you see that, is that Houston 713? You see that 703 area code pop up, and your friend going through something, you're going to be like, ooh, let me decline that. So they're trying to intimidate people, basically, to helping people. And that's what it's about with this campaign and people that follow this ideology and the people that live in certain jurisdictions and states and cities that support this type of thing. So what's going to happen is it's just dividing the country, is dividing families and personal decisions and women, and it's also unifying people too. But it's forcing you to choose a side. And it just makes me think of this movie Civil War we just saw. You got the Western and there's the Northern side. So this, because at some point we already see some states try to ratify, try to be on their own, and this is going towards that same direction. This is scary, actually. It's very scary for individuals, for women that have a right to do what they want to do with their bodies. And it's just scary because now you're dividing states, and it's going to make people want to be like, I don't know if I want to deal with somebody that lives in Texas or Alabama or Tennessee because of the governance and the laws and the because it's not just abortions. They're going to try to make it illegal, to help people in other areas too. They're going to try to stronghold everyone and just divide certain states and cities, almost similar to the movie Civil War, the actual Civil War that we had. This is crazy to me. Shocking, by the way. Was this on The Simpsons, by the way?
What's what on The Simpsons?
This topic.
Abortion?
I'm just saying, the Simpsons come up with everything, don't they?
They do. they have been strangely psychic in a lot of areas.
Yeah.
They do have. You look back
that was sarcastic, Joe, but I'm really.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't watched Simpsons in a while. It does, though. Whenever you see something happening in the news, you will very often find a clip on Twitter about the Simpsons bringing up this very topic. It's like.
Or some type of theatrical,
before that,
or some type of theatrical something in the past. Was that the X-Files? Wow,
it is creepy. But no, I mean you're right. It is about intimidation, but also you know what it's about? It's about control.
Yes, control.
And that's the main thing that women have to think about is that these men, these mostly white men, but it doesn't matter what they are, but that's just the fact that mostly white men in this Republican Party are trying to tell women what they can do with their bodies. Yeah, and they're trying to have a short of a leash on them as possible. Well, no, abortion is not legal in this state, but you can't even go to another state and get abortion either. And this is a very real thing. If you think that Donald Trump is not as hardcore on abortion, he obviously endorsed all the states being able to make up their own laws. That means he's okay with the most strict laws. And if you think that if Republicans were to win Congress and the Senate and Donald Trump were to get elected in November, if you think they send a nationwide abortion bill to a nationwide abortion ban to his desk, you don't think he's going to sign it? I guarantee you he will sign it and he will brag about it. He put the Supreme Court justices on the Supreme Court who made it happen, who made abortion go away, who made Roe versus Wade go away, and he brags about it.
It was strategic. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, of course.
Definitely strategic.
Of course, that was his main goal. That's been Republicans' goal for a long time.
But not just that, by putting the justices in place, right?
Right.
To approve this very thing.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if history repeats itself, when he came out recently and said, leave it up to the states. I was trying to do an impression. That was terrible.
Was that a Trump impression?
It was terrible.
Please don't do that again.
Yeah, that was terrible. So he was saying leave it up to the states, right? That's what he said recently.
Yeah.
So if we leave it up to the states, that's his way of kind of tiptoeing around it to try to get some more votes, not to really create more division and to try to trick some people to vote for him.
That's exactly
I'm cool
right.
this time around.
That's exactly
I'm cool. Leave it up to the states.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly what he's doing. He's trying to make it seem like he's not extreme. He's trying to say, it's just the states. Let them do what they want. But then when that's your position, then you own all of the extreme policies in the states.
But not necessarily you, though, right, Avi? Because people will do whatever they need to do to get in office. So some people lie and manipulate
everyone
to get in office.
Yeah, everyone.
Right?
That's politics.
Yeah. So if a certain group pushes you and they have a certain ideology, you might as well take that on because you're taking their votes. You took the check, right?
That's his goal. But what I'm saying is, it's clear that he's BSing.
Of course.
Because it's clear.
Yeah.
He is trying to make it seem like he's not as hardline by saying that he just wants the states to be able to do what they want. Yeah. But it's a stupid strategy because then we can just lay all of these horrible abortion bans in different states at your feet. If you're the one who's saying the states can do what they want, and there are horrible abortion bans in many different states, and you're saying, well, that's okay with me as long as the states decide, then you're okay with that.
Yeah, he's sweeping it under the rug.
And like I said, even though that's his position right now in the campaign, he is still bragging to this day about being responsible for overturning Roe versus Wade. So He's trying to have it both ways, and we have to be clear about that. And as I said, can't say this enough. If he gets into office again and they send him a national abortion ban, he will sign it. And he will proudly sign it. They'll have a big celebration at the desk. He'll have that ugly signature. He'll hold that ugly signature up on the paper, and women all over the country will not be able to have access to health care, and doctors will be at risk for providing health care. So that is just something we have to keep at the top of our mind, and I think we have to be consistent with that messaging, because it can easily get lost in all the stuff that's happening.
You're right.
So when we come forward, we're going to talk about, well, of course, we'll have What in the White Privilege coming up later on in the hour. And I have two candidates for the What in the White Privilege segment today. I'm still deciding between them. I'm about 75% sure I'm going to choose one of them. We'll tell you about both of those stories, but only one gets to be in the What in the White Privilege segment today. So we'll get to that, and also we'll talk about it's not just Donald Trump that's crooked. Everything around him seems to be crooked. So even the company that the quote-unquote independent auditor that audited his Trump media company, of which he is the main shareholder, even they're crooked. They're being accused of fraud and have agreed to pay $14 million in civil penalties. And so there's that. Donald Trump's former advisor, former member of his communications team. I think she was the chief of the communications staff, but in the White House. But she testified today in the Donald Trump trial in Manhattan, and we will get into those things after this news, traffic, and sports update on KBLA Talk 1580.
Areva time is the right time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. State lawmakers are considering Ebony Alert legislation filed by State Representative Bud Williams of Springfield, Massachusetts. The measure would create a system similar to an Amber Alert, which would notify the public when a black woman or child goes missing in Massachusetts. A charitable foundation is highlighting Atlanta's racial disparities. A new report from the Annie E. Casey Foundation shows financial education gaps between black and white people while growing, even as income has gone up and unemployment numbers remain good. Economic mobility in Atlanta, Georgia is near the bottom of the country's largest city. Police officers and a nonprofit are joining forces for what could be a life-saving demonstration for young black men. The Broken Men Foundation met with police from Richmond, Virginia and Henrico County. They were in the Manchester Medical Building parking lot on Cowardin Avenue to stimulate a traffic stop. The goal was to teach BMF members how to interact with police without escalating things. That's the latest. I'm Tyreek Wynn on your home for 24/7 News for Black Information Network.
SIG alert has been issued in Boyle Heights as the South Soder Street off-ramp on the 5 South is closed due to a major accident. Right now, we don't have any further details, but you can expect some heavy delays throughout the area. Over in Gorman, an injury crash involving a rollover has CHP on scene, trying to run a break to clear lane to the 5 North on Highway 138 South. The accident itself remains in the center divide, but stop traffic from Smoky Bear Road is up to 35 minutes. Motorcycle-involved accident back in West LA remains blocking the carpool in left lane of the 405 South before the Olympic Pico Boulevard interchange, while stop traffic continues from Sunset Boulevard.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers didn't wait long to make a decision on Darvin Ham. 4 days after getting swept by the Denver Nuggets in the playoffs 2 straight years, the Lakers management fired Ham Friday morning. It didn't matter that Ham has 2 years remaining on his contract. This move is not a surprise. There have been rumblings for several weeks that some players have lost confidence in Ham, and some of his coaching decisions were becoming an issue. On Thursday, several sources claim the Lakers are already looking for a new coach, and one of the persons on their short list is Clippers coach Ty Lue. If the Clippers are eliminated tonight in Dallas, conversations with Lue could start pretty quick. Lue has a good relationship with LeBron from their time in Cleveland together. During LeBron's second run with the Cavs, Lue was an assistant for 2 years and head coach for 3. Stay tuned. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, y'all, come on. Come on.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chucky. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
Moments like making my kids my famous meatballs mean a lot to me. But after being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that has spread to other parts of the body, they mean even more. I take Ibrance, palbociclib.
Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for adults with HR-positive, HER2-negative MBC as the first hormonal-based therapy. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com. Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor right away if you have new or worsening symptoms, including trouble breathing, shortness of breath, cough, or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor if you have fever, chills, or other signs of infection, liver or kidney problems, are or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Common side effects include low red blood cell and low platelet counts, infections, tiredness, nausea, sore mouth, abnormalities in liver blood tests, diarrhea, hair thinning or loss, vomiting, rash, and loss of appetite.
Life can throw unexpected challenges our way. Black families need support. Children require safe, loving, temporary homes. Research shows that children in foster care thrive best when they remain in their own communities. The strength and love within the Black community can provide a sense of belonging. We need your help to consider opening your hearts and homes. Contact fosterlakids.org today or call 888-811-1121. Again, 888-811-1121. Become a foster parent today.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
It is the Friday edition of Areva Martin in Real Time. Avi Bernard here with you and joined by Danny Griffin, educator, entrepreneur, and motivational speaker. It is another edition of the group chat, and Dr. Fletcher will be joining us a little bit later. And Kwamel said he's here because he knows we have something to say about Darvin Ham. And Kwamel, you are 100% correct, and we will get there. We're just waiting for our good friend Dr. Fletcher to weigh in on that conversation as well, and he'll be joining us shortly. In the meantime, there is never a shortage of content, never a shortage of happenings to discuss. So let's get to this is going to be the story that did not make the cut in the white privilege segment. I told you there were two that I was thinking about. This is the one that's not going to make the cut, but it's still a crazy example. And as I say sometimes, maybe this whole hour could be called the white privilege hour. And this is a Georgia business owner who bragged that he fed a police officer to a mob of rioters storming the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, 2021. Fed a police officer to the mob, like feeding a hamburger patty to a dog. Fed him to the mob. And I can all but guarantee this is someone who said Blue Lives Matter. Except when they're standing in your way. Except when they're protecting something or someone who you don't think should be protected. So this man, Jack Wade Witten. Jack Wade, he bragged that he fed this officer to the mob. He also struck an officer with a metal crutch and dragged him headfirst and face down into the crowd. And he said that in a text message. He said, "Oh yeah, I fed that officer to the mob." And so now he's been sentenced to 5 years, and couldn't have happened to a better person. And not only did he strike an officer with a metal crutch and drag him into the crowd, about 20 minutes later, he tried to pull a second officer into the crowd. He also kicked at, threatened, and threw a construction pylon at officers trying to hold off the mob of Donald Trump's supporters and shouted at them, "You're gonna die tonight." Seems like someone who's very pro-police. So this dude was going to be part of the white privilege segment, but I just figured the other story is a more egregious example of the privilege. And so this person is not at the door, but we're going to see who's at the door a little bit later. And Dave, let's get you in here to talk about this. It's so crazy because this January 6th attack, which was perpetuated by Donald Trump supporters, clearly. I mean, we see them on camera doing it, right? We have receipts, like text messages, of them bragging about doing it. Some of them were stupid enough to live stream themselves doing it or post videos of themselves doing it. And yet they still try to blame, oh, it was really Black Lives Matter that did it. It was really just Black Lives Matter that was there January 6th to make us look bad. I mean, I know I have a very long online history of being a supporter of Donald Trump, but in spite of that fact and the fact that I was there that day and bragged about being there that day and bragged about doing what I'm on camera doing, I'm still going to blame it on Black Lives Matter. So that is just the audacity, or as some people say, caucasity, the audacity of these people to do this. And I bet you he was in court crying to the judge, "This is not who I really am. I have a family." But then let a brother do something not nearly as egregious. Let a brother curse at an officer. Let a brother do something mild. We see it on camera. We get pulled over and end up getting killed. And they say, "Oh, well, you shouldn't have had a gun on him. Shouldn't have had a gun in the car." And they justify us being murdered. But someone like this, they try to act like it didn't even happen, even though it's on camera happening, and they bragged about doing it. But Danny, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, man, it's just entitlement. And we see a lot of minorities around the country go through the different issues when it comes to our judicial system. We have evidence of it. Even before the video camera and the cell phone stuff, I mean, there's always been evidence of how it's a disparity in the justice system. And this is a clear case of that. We have 1,350 people who have been charged, and 850 of them have been convicted, some 22 days. Obviously we have some guys with the years. And when I think of the insurrection, I just think of the guy that had his face painted with an American flag, and he had the was that the Buffalo Horns?
Yeah, they called him
he from Arizona.
I forget where he's from. They called him like the MAGA shaman or something.
Yeah, I mean it was different because even though we were watching it play out, you had to be kind of versed a little bit politically and have the backdrop of the story. A lot of people just say Trump incited it, blah blah blah, and just blamed it on that. But it was deeper than that. It's way deeper than just your current commander-in-chief president who's on his way out, and some of his followers, and white supremacy, and this and this and this. It's way bigger than that. It goes back to Civil War, and you have different people, South, West, conservative, this, that, people that support minorities, people that don't. And I look at it, and I'm looking at the people who were there. A lot of people just saw what people look like, but you can't just go off that. You got to go off who people are. And what profession were these people? Usually profession typically doesn't come into play, or your degree or your educational level, socioeconomic background. But in this case it does, because when you look at the background of some of the people that was involved, you're like, wait a minute. That was a law officer? That's a teacher? That's a doctor? That's a contractor? So I started looking, and you saw a couple of minorities there. I don't want to make this just a black or white thing or nothing like that.
Barely.
But yeah, barely. The numbers wasn't as great, obviously, but you saw some minorities there, and you were
like a few.
You like, what you doing?
A handful.
Some people said, what
barely
you doing there? What you doing there? But obviously, you saw more, Caucasian individuals there, and you start thinking, and then they start doing the background and showing their picture on TV, and you look them up, and you're like, wait a minute. And you would think stereotypically, they living in the backwood or South Carolina or somewhere, and then you look at them like, no, this person lives in a metropolitan city. Wait, when you start looking like this person lives in a diverse area, like this person is around other minorities, people, and you're supposed to be helping, educate this person or this person at your law office, your doctor's office.
They are among us.
And I started looking like, wait a minute. And then I started looking like, this had to be people from the DMV that just drove in. I looked, this guy actually took a flight?
They took flights.
So wait, this guy's in the reserve?
Some of these people are, or at least were, temporarily banned from flying.
Yeah.
Because they flew across state lines to participate in terrorism.
So it was amazing because, you live your everyday life and you like politics is politics. I vote, whoever wins, and that's it. But you start looking a little more deep into it. For people to actually fly somewhere, and I mean, it's not a UCLA type protest or Columbia thing like that. You're talking about going into a government building, which is an insurrection. I mean, This is serious. Like, you're a part of history. So to fly to do that, let me know that this is not just some run around the mill type of thing. Like, you're heavily deep involved in this.
And they even said, a lot of them, they're on video saying, we're taking back the country, and they thought they were like,
it's about to go down, huh?
Yeah, they wanted it to. They really were trying to perform a coup.
Do you think it's like, we know those amount of people that were there, obviously everybody that was there didn't get arrested or charged. We know that. It was hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
But how many people stayed home that have the same ideology?
Oh,
that's the scary part.
If there are that many there's always way more. I mean, just like this show, for example, we get callers sometimes, right? And of all the people for every person that calls in, there are thousands listening who don't call in. And so, just like that's probably even a greater extent, because these are people who had time and income. If you have a job and you're living paycheck to paycheck, you don't have time to take a day off work and fly to D.C. to participate in an insurrection.
Wow. So and they were trying to hurt people too, huh?
Yeah, of course. This guy said he yelled at cops, you are going to die. And he dragged them into, at least one officer, into the mob with the intention of them dying.
So this is failed. But how many more people are home who wanted to be a part of this, who think like this?
And that's
what's next on the agenda?
And that's
what's next, right?
And that's why these people have to be punished.
So what do we call? So is it fair to say that this is domestic terrorism?
It is. It
Okay.
absolutely is domestic terrorism.
But
they don't want to call it that.
That's something that's kind of crickets, right? That's something that doesn't get enough attention, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion.
It is. No, it is because
KBLA 15.
Yeah. It is because white people are hesitant to call anything terrorism that is not performed by a brown person. If it's
the stereotypical person from the Middle East,
exactly,
or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, you let a Middle Eastern person participate in any kind of violence in America, they will be quick to call it terrorism, even if it wasn't. But let some white people from here participate in what is clearly terrorism. You're attacking a government building during a government proceeding with the goal of halting that government proceeding. What is that if it's not terrorism?
Wow, that's scary. That's scary to live amongst people who, because I love everybody. I don't have any problems with anybody because of how they look or whatever, what they do, religion, political. I respect everybody. That's how I was raised. But to just know that people are out there who don't want to see people in office and drag them out or stay in there. That's crazy because now history is repeating itself, and this is what we saw with coups, and you go back and French and 200 years ago, 300 years ago, and you look back at this is how different civilizations and societies failed and faltered because of the actions of the people, right? And they got involved with the military, and then they took over, and it's just kind of scary because. I go back to that movie Civil War again. I saw it. I'm just scary because I'm thinking.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
I'm just thinking like, what if a group of people like this convince active military people to join in?
Well, that's their goal.
And they convince a whole city or a whole base or a whole reserve unit.
Trump thinks Trump thinks Black Lives Matter protesters should be shot.
Wow.
He thinks shoplifters should be shot with no trial. Shot. Came out of his mouth.
Yeah, scary.
When we come forward, we will get into the what in the white privilege story that did make the cut right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number and put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement. Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
It's the farewell tour. Maze featuring Frankie Beverly and KBLA wants to send you and the special mom in your life. Sunday, May 12th at the Kia Forum.
Make sure I'm right, girl, before I let go.
Also featuring soul icon Anthony Hamilton.
Amazing.
And After 7.
I'll give you everything.
It's a Mother's Day celebration you won't forget. Listen in for your chance to win tickets. And don't forget to wear white. It's the farewell tour with Maze featuring Frankie Beverly.
Environmental justice is racial justice. Environmental justice is social justice. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
One night, yeah.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
The way we spend our time defines who we are. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And we're back on the Friday edition of Areva Martin in real time. It is the group chat. It's the Friday group chat. And it is Danny Griffin, educator, entrepreneur, and motivational speaker. Dr. Fletcher will be joining us momentarily. I'm Avi Bernard, and we are going to get into our weekly segment, What in the White? Privilege Andy, who's at the door.
It's white.
So have you heard of Kristi Noem? If you follow politics, you probably have. She's the governor of South Dakota. And she was perhaps rumored to be a vice presidential candidate, a potential vice presidential pick, a running mate selection of Donald Trump, who, of course, has not yet chosen a running mate. You know, she's a governor. She's youngish, and like she's kind of, I guess, what they would consider pretty, and so she's a pretty white woman, and they think her being a woman and a pretty woman and a governor and super conservative. Maybe she'll be a vice presidential pick, but she wrote a book, and in that book, she freely discussed killing a 14-month-old dog because it had not performed its duties. She's a South Dakotan, and so they, the dogs there sometimes have duties helping them hunt or herd sheep. I'm not sure what duties the dog wasn't performing, but she talked about killing this dog, and she received backlash for it, of course, because why would you put that in your book? She freely admitted it. No one had to ask her about it. It's just, oh yeah, I by the way, this dog. Yeah, I had this dog, and he kind of wasn't acting right, so I just shot him with my shotgun, and the dog is dead now. This is in her book, and she's all trying to push back on it, saying, well, the dog had it two times. It didn't do what I asked it to do, and so I had to put it down. The dog's name was Cricket, a 14-month-old wire-hair pointer, and she recently went on Sean Hannity, which, of course, where else, to try to defend herself and say people are taking this out of context. She actually said in that Sean Hannity interview, the fake news will put the worst spin on things. The fake news puts the worst spin on it. We don't need any spin on this. You killed a dog. You said it in your own book. No one even asked you about it. You just freely admitted, I murdered a 14-month-old puppy. And then, also in that interview, she tried to say that it wasn't a puppy. It was a working dog. Lady, that's not making this any better for you. Whether you consider a 14-month-old dog a puppy or not. And there's a South Dakota, within her state, dog trainer named Dan Griffith. no relation to Danny Griffin, who's here in the studio. But there's a South Dakota dog trainer named Dan Griffith who says that a dog is not mature until they're 2 years old and won't be a good hunter or a great dog until they're 3 or 4 years old. So she murdered a 14-month-old puppy because it wasn't doing its job, then tried to say It wasn't a puppy. It was a working dog. And you know it's bad when even Donald Trump Jr. thinks that it was a bad idea for you to talk about that. You know Donald Trump Jr., Donald Trump's weird-ass son, one of his weird-ass sons, the eldest. Donald Trump Jr. kills endangered species for sport, literally. He has pictures with, like, dead endangered species with him in the picture. And he went on Steve Bannon's podcast and said, this is a quote. Let me see, where does it start? Okay, he said, quote, I read that and I'm like, who put that in the book? I was like, your ghostwriter must really not like you if they're going to include that one. That was rough, close quote. If endangered species hunting Donald Trump Jr. is saying that was a bad idea to put in your book, and you're a Republican especially, you know they don't criticize each other. So obviously it was a bad idea, and you're still trying to defend yourself. And you know what this makes me think of, Danny? Michael Vick.
What they gonna say? Oh, he was dogfighting, and it was a ring, and it's illegal,
Sure.
and they were betting money.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and ain't nobody here defending what Michael Vick did.
Oh,
of
yeah.
course.
Yeah.
But is she gonna get the same treatment? Yeah, she's receiving backlash, but people aren't gonna talk about her like they talked about Michael Vick.
Well, being inhumane to an animal, regardless of the race of the person that committed the crime against the animal, shouldn't matter.
It shouldn't.
Shouldn't
of course,
matter.
it should not.
And that's what we got to get out of.
Shouldn't matter in any.
Unfortunate. That's
Race
crazy.
shouldn't matter in any instance.
It shouldn't matter. But we see what happens to a lot of political, figures who are not, let's just say, who are minorities, and they commit some of the same infractions or some of the same indiscretions as their white counterparts, and a lot of times, well, majority of the times, it's not an equal playing field. And I was just thinking, what if one of our local politicians here, who's a minority and they have cachet in the community and have done stellar work.
So hold that thought, Danny, because we got to step aside real quick. But that is why Kristi Noem is the subject of this week's What in the White Privilege.
It's white.
When we come forward, we'll let you finish, Danny, and also we will welcome Dr. Fletcher to the group chat right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. A well-known civil rights attorney is teaming up with the family of a man who recently died while in police custody in Canton, Ohio. Last month, Frank Tyson, who's black, was taken into custody after he fled the scene of a single vehicle accident in Ohio. Tyson was handcuffed, and footage shows him telling police he couldn't breathe while an officer knelt on his back. The University of Utah is making changes to its